Let's get into our next session. Our next speakers are Connective's very own brokers from Two Birds, One Loan, and they are proudly brought to us by Bankwest. Now, if you have got any questions for the next session, this session won't actually have questions at the end, but you will have endless opportunities to ask questions of our two speakers because they are here. They are delegates, they are involved in the conference, they're going to be here all day, all night, they'll be around tomorrow, so feel free to hit them up with any questions, but just do it one-on-one at your leisure. We're going to be talking about building a business that clients love with Eloise and Alissa. After a friendship spanning over 2 decades, Alissa and Eloise came together with a vision to make waves in the, quote, uninteresting world of financial services, and together they have made more than just waves. They now head up one of Connective's most successful mortgage broking businesses. Alissa Childs, 20 years in financial services, meticulous eye for detail, passion for attaining outstanding customer outcomes and experiences. Born and bred in the Hills District, she now lives in Glenorrey with her husband Nick and their 3 kids, Esme, Albie and Vivian. Eloise, or Elle Dooley, an astute eye for detail, an unusual love of spreadsheets, the ability to effectively manage multiple projects and deadlines all at the same time, lives in Middle Dural together with her husband Matt, together with their 3 daughters Grace, Violet and Olivia, and a neurotic schnoodle called Lenny. And today they join us to share some tips on how they've built their business successfully and a business where customers keep coming back. It is the dynamic duo of doing things differently, the Thelma and Louise of loans, 2 birds, 1 loan. Eloise and Alissa, please make them very welcome.
Thank you so much. What an absolute privilege and honour it is to be up here today. Thank you to Connective for this amazing and unexpected opportunity to share our business journey with you all. It hasn't always been easy, but we've had a lot of fun along the way and a bit of success. We're going to share some of our learnings with you guys today, and hopefully, no matter where you are in your own business journey, there will be some things that you can take away and implement into your day-to-day activities. My name is Alissa Childs, proud member of Connective since 2018. However, I have been a long-standing member of this industry for over 20 years. You may know me from my 10 years working as a lender BDM, a role I thoroughly enjoyed until I reached the career crossroad that is called motherhood. I naively thought that I would have children and I would just return back to my old world and my old job, and how incredibly wrong I was about that. In January 2018, I had a 1-year-old and I had a newborn. I had a 15-month gap between them. I strongly don't recommend that you do that. It was very, very hard. I can laugh about it now, fortunately, but at the time I went down with quite severe and debilitating postnatal depression and anxiety. Everything I thought I knew about my future career direction was completely out the window. I knew that I had to forge a new path. I needed to work for my mental health, but I couldn't bear the thought of leaving my babies 5 days a week. So I did what any girl might do during an existential crisis of identity, and I said to my best friend, would you like to quit your perfectly stable, well-paid corporate marketing career to start a mortgage broking business with me? I met Elle in the science lab. We were 12 or 13 years old. We have basically spoken every day since then via all different platforms. And 6 years ago, she took an enormous leap of faith to come on an adventure with me to start Two Birds, One Loan. Ladies and gentlemen, Eloise Dooley.
Yep, I'll give you this. Please. Hello, my name is Elle and I am the other bird, and unlike Alissa, I was brand new to the mortgage broking industry 6 years ago, so I have had a very steep learning curve. And as Alissa said, we both had our first children at the same time, so we spent a lot of our time together on maternity leave. I had a 6-month-old and I was currently on maternity leave, and my mentally unstable friend propositioned me to start a business. And I'm like, oh, sounds good. But look, you know, I think I knew the opportunity would well outweigh anything that we were tackling at the time. And, you know, and if I knew Alissa, I knew she would get through it, and she did. And, you know, we went on to do good things. But I also knew with Alissa's extensive network and her experience and her technical skills, along with my marketing experience and my business background, together we had such a complementary skill set. And along with a strong work ethic, I knew that we could create a really successful business. But I think also having a clear why really helped me to jump ship and, you know, move my total career trajectory. Sure, the income is, you know, a really attractive factor to moving into the industry, but I think the ability to further my career and have some sort of independence was also really, really important. And after having your first child, you, as a female, and like so many other females that I know, you undergo a bit of an identity crisis. You're sort of forced to think about who you are and what you want out of your job and where you're going and how you're going to proceed and how you're going to do everything with all these little children. And, you know, it forces you to recalibrate. And I think the idea of having your own business and having something so close to home with the hours that you can dictate essentially was such an attractive factor for me. But look, did we have rose-coloured goggles on? 1000% we did. You know, it was so much harder than what we anticipated. And, you know, I mean, look, the flip side of it is I actually wish we had done it sooner, but if we hadn't have had children, we would never have been forced to sort of make a decision about our careers and where we want to go. And today we'd like to take you on our Two Birds journey. We'll talk you through some of our challenges, and perhaps some of those challenges are what most of you face. But firstly, we'd like to introduce you to the 6 little back-chatting reasons as to why we started the business.
Your name? And how old are you? And how old are you? 6. What's your name? And how old are you? What's your name? What's my job? Oh, good job. Did you just read this one? Yeah. She comes here, and what does she do? What? Here? I help people do what? Oh, good. What do I do? Can I get your boy? Oh. Do you like about mommy? Does anyone know what our company, what our business is called? What? Two birds, one stone. You're going to be Elsa Lee?
So we'd just like to take you through a quick little timeline of sort of where we started and then where we've sort of come in 6 years' time. And we had all the confidence that this business was going to take off. And look, eventually it did, but we have a good story to tell. And between us, we had so much experience and we had a huge, big network of friends and family and work colleagues and all the rest of it. But we literally had not a client to our name. We came into it with 0 clients and we built our customer base up from nothing. And in hindsight, it was a very, very ballsy move, and I probably wouldn't want to go back there again, because it was very, very difficult. We work from a home office, like so many of you probably do, and I remember when the kids were really little and before we got them into daycare, we used to package them up and we'd take them to the gym and chuck them in the creche, and rather than work out, we'd just go and sit in reception and work until it was acceptable, or we'd wait a couple of hours and then have to pick them up and go back home. But look, those days feel so long ago, and, you know, deal by deal we chipped away and, you know, built trust and reputation and, you know, eventually a client base. So fast forward to now, we're 6 years in. We've had lots of wins along the way, and, you know, we are now a team of 7. There's 4 of us in the office and there's 3 of us offshore. And we've recently moved into a beautiful new office space, which is not at home, which is lovely. So she's only small, but she's pretty and she's across the road from school. So it works really, really well for us. We've won multiple awards along the way, and we've had some amazing media opportunities. And I think we're going to talk a little bit later about the power of putting yourself out there and the power of saying yes, even if it makes you feel wildly uncomfortable, a little bit like today. But look, we fast forward to now. As you can see, we both have 3 children under the age of 8, and you know, Alissa and I both had our 3rd babies within 11 weeks of each other. So I can strategically say that this was not a good business decision. We were both pregnant with small babies, and it was very, very hard at the time. But look, we got through, and you know, we lived to tell the tale. But now we're going to tell you a little bit about how we started the Two Birds brand and how we built the brand from scratch. So building a brand is really complex. It needs to be all the things. It needs to be authentic, it needs to be engaging, and it needs to create meaning with your audience. And Alissa and I had a clear picture of what we wanted to achieve, and we wanted to create a brand that was going to cut through and make noise in a male-dominated industry. And, you know, we wanted something catchy, we wanted something memorable. And we often get asked, where did the name Two Birds, One Loan come from? And I can honestly say it was just one of those moments we were sitting around on the playroom floor, throwing around words, and you know, it just came to us and we're like, right, that's it, that's our business name. We've actually only ever had one fellow broker tell us that he didn't like our name. We see you, Paul. I don't know if Paul's here, but we see you online lurking, Paul. But look, we like us. And you know, I was listening to a podcast and it said something along the lines of, if you are for everyone, then by definition you are average. And, you know, we didn't set out to be average. There's a place in the world for everybody, and we loved it because we knew that we would stand out in a crowd. And then I want to fast forward to a website. So as you know, in this day and age, an online presence is super, super important. And if someone doesn't have a website, for me personally, if I'm dealing with a company or anyone, in fact, I go online, and I'm a naturally very curious person. So I like to go on, have a little bit of a stalk, see who they are, where they went to school, how many kids they've got, that sort of thing. And I'm like, if that's what I'm doing, that's what everyone else is doing when they're engaging with our business. And, you know, we wanted to ensure that potential customers that are coming to chat to us are making a connection with us, and they know exactly who they are dealing with. It's a highly personal transaction, you know, doing a home loan for someone. Like, you're delving into all of their deep financial information, and we wanted to build a brand so strong that essentially they trust you before that they've even met you. So we had a designer design our website and our logo, and this is our 3rd major website reskin. And you know, we take new photos every year, and it's mostly due to our fluctuating weights and different hair colours and things like that. But it's also to keep our Facebook feeds fresh. You know, you can post all these photos all over your website, you can put them on Facebook, you can put them on Instagram. They're very handy to have, and just have fresh content that's coming through your website all the time. Our first website was done on the cheap, and it was done by me. And it wasn't until a few years in that we started to make money and we could engage a professional website developer to come in and basically put that one in the bin and start all over again. And as you progress, you become more comfortable with who you are and, you know, who you're targeting and, you know, the customers that you're attracting. And at the beginning, we cast the net wide. We weren't even too sure, but we quickly realised that we were attracting people like us. And it was, you know, working professionals, you know, families in their mid-30s. And once you understand this, it makes it 1,000 times easier to target your audience. And we knew, you know, just being us, where we were hanging out, and that was largely online. That was social media. So now Alyssa's going to talk you through exactly how we engage with our audiences through social media and generate leads. Oh, yeah.
So social media has been a huge part of our strategy and our success, and is probably the main reason why we saw such steep growth throughout the last 6 years. We had limited hours to be pounding the pavement. We had 3 kids under 2, and you know, we're not the types of personalities that would be out cold calling and knocking on doors and things like that. So we did have a very solid network of friends, and we really leveraged that network through social media. So as Elle mentioned, your audience might be different to ours, but our audience is basically 75% female. It's women in their 30s who live in Sydney. So our dealings because of the people that we're working with and the people that are naturally attracted to us, our dealings have become largely digital. They have evolved to be largely digital. We've never really advertised. Our network advertises for us every day through social media by recommending us online and through groups and things like that. So we realised quite quickly our audience likes to see us in our posts. We do outsource some of our posts, which I'll go more into in a minute, but we have really strong client relationships, and it's not because we're sitting in their living room at 7 o'clock at night. When we post about us, our clients who we might have had 50 points of contact with through email and Teams meetings and text messages, they see us and it's like it just forms a deeper connection with us. And the posts that we put ourselves in, the engagement on those is always really, really strong. And one thing that we've noticed is that lots and lots of brokers don't like to put their faces in their social media or their websites. Some people don't even put their names on their website. They sort of identify as a business as opposed to a person. Whether you want to hear it or not, your reach will improve tenfold if you just get over the fear of putting your face and yourself with some real and authentic content into your website and your social media. So over the years, we've seen a shift from static images into video. The majority of new prospects will look at your social media. I mean, for our audience anyway, they will look at your social media, and if you haven't posted for a while, sometimes it can deter them. If you're not good at putting out consistent social media, a little secret, all of the static images on our Instagram and Facebook are not posted by us. We outsource that to another company. So we've given her all of our fonts, colours, look and feel, and she makes it look like it comes from us. But when that's posted, we actually see that for the first time when you guys do. Those posts don't get a huge amount of engagement, but they're really, really important because it keeps your brand constantly in the feeds of your followers. So as you can see, looking at videos, I'll go into video. If you're not good at doing videos, that's okay, not many people are. We spoke about doing videos for years. We were like, videos do so well. Why don't we do videos? And we never did them. So we just threw ourselves in the deep end because we really like doing that. And we booked a videographer to just come to our office one afternoon, and she filmed us for about 3 or 4 hours. We did all the costume changes, so it wasn't just one outfit, and she's given us about 6 months worth of video content to roll out on our social media and to use on our website. So if you're not good at doing videos, I would strongly recommend looking into outsourcing those as well. Stories are very engaging. Authenticity, we feel, is everything. If you look at the most successful influencers, they're the people that just are real. They put everything about their feelings online, and that's what people really, really engage with. So just be real and be authentic and be yourself. Often people meet us and they'll either say, I've heard of your business, or I feel like I've seen you before, or have we met somewhere? Someone recently said, have you guys been on TV? No, we're not on TV. We literally are in a little pocket of Glenorrhea, and we go between school and daycare and the office, and we just do that circle. It's nothing glamorous. The reason people feel like they know us is because our social media presence is so strong. So I'll go round to the 3 to 4 year mark. We'd built an audience. We were getting more leads than we could handle, and our really steep growth phase began at this point. So this was like the end of 21, the start of 22, which coincided with when we both had a baby. It was a really silly business decision, but anyway, we had one full-time staff member, and she also had a baby about 4 months after we did. So we were the only 3 people in the business, and you might remember in 22, the interest rates were at an all-time low, the market activity was at an all-time high, and we were getting absolutely pumped. So we had 6 kids under the age of 5 at this point. It was just bedlam, it was crazy, and all of a sudden, all the reasons we'd started this business had gone pear-shaped, and we'd hired 2 people, but we were so busy just scrambling that we actually didn't train them properly, so they weren't really, alleviating all of our stress. So how were we feeling at the time? We were so stressed. We were unfulfilled. We were tired. Like, we had babies. We were working all night. We were miserable, and we were properly burnt out. So the crunch point was I went on a family holiday and I didn't actually spend any time with my family. I just worked the whole time. So at this point, I just thought, what are we doing? Like, something actually has to change now. So we were targeted by another aggregator at this point, as I'm sure many of you have been, who promised to fix all of our problems, and we were quite vulnerable at the time. So we ended up speaking to Connective about it, and we realised that changing aggregators was not actually going to fix any of these issues. And they very cleverly suggested, instead of throwing all of, a huge chunk of a percentage of your commissions at another aggregator, why don't you just invest those funds into improving your process and helping yourselves to be better leaders and business owners? So, when they said it like that, it made so much sense, and I'm so glad that we listened to them and we approached them before we made any decisions. So it was becoming evident that we needed a mentor who could help us through this steep growth phase that we were going through. We had goals, we had staff, we had money in the bank, we had more leads than we could manage, but we were so stressed. So we had all the ingredients for a really successful business, but we just didn't know what to do next and how to sort of continue with it without dying. So we interviewed multiple mentors. We had our first chat with Nancy Youssef, who you probably all know. She's here in the room. She's flown down to be here today. Thank you, Nancy. She made it clear in the first 5 minutes of our conversation that she was going to help us out of this. And we were very skeptical. We didn't know how she was going to do it, but we believed her because she was so believable. And one thing we knew straight up was that she wasn't, we were going to have to take actions. She could help us, she could lead us to the water, but we were going to have to drink to actually get out of this hole that we were in. So we took another leap of faith here, and it was really time to elevate ourselves as business owners. So it's now been 2 years that we've been officially mentored by Nancy, and we've just achieved so many things and so many goals. We got to the point where we'd made so much progress with her that we'd walk in all arrogant, thinking, oh, I think, is there much more we can learn here? We've learned so much. I think we're good now, And then we would walk out of that meeting with a list as long as our arms of more things to implement. So our major learning here is that no matter how well you think you're doing, there is always room for improvement, even when you think you're sort of doing okay. That's when you're in the comfort zone, guys, and that's when you need to push yourself out of it. So find a mentor that is a good match for you, your energy and your values. With Nancy, we had that feeling, that instant connection where we knew straight away she would be the one that we would engage. Trust your intuition, because that is what will tell you if they're the right person for you. But of course, a mentor is not going to be financially feasible for everybody, and we couldn't have done this until we were sort of 3 to 4 years in. So there are some things that we used to do and that you can implement if a mentor is not quite within reach for you right now. Before we could afford to work with a mentor, we would just call random brokers, people we've met once or twice, and no one has ever said no to giving us an hour of their time, and we took information from every single one of those conversations and implemented new strategies into our business. We targeted people who were years ahead of us with team sizes that we wanted to get to and with volumes that we wanted to write one day. And we're not backwards in coming forwards. We're not afraid. I'll call any one of you in this room and I'll ask you for an hour of your time. But I think a lot of brokers are afraid to do that. Interestingly, just to prove this point, we saw a broker in the breakfast room this morning and she said, I picked up the phone to call you guys to ask you questions. And then she put the phone down and she didn't call us. So please, our calendars are open. We're more than happy to share our learnings, and we have done that for a lot of brokers who have approached us for advice. But don't be afraid to do that. No one's going to turn you away. So the primary reason that we had so much success with Nancy is if she told us to do something, we did it. We might have had the month from hell, just getting slammed with work and sick kids and school holidays and everything else that just comes at you during the week, but we would always do our Nancy tasks. They were not negotiable, mainly because we were too scared to turn up to see Nancy without having done our tasks. So my point is for the first time, we had a really strong accountability partner, and Elle and I have always been really good at setting goals. But this broke the goals down into like little monthly tasks, like daily tasks even. So if you have a friend in this room and you need a bit of a kick up the bum with this stuff, assign that person today as your accountability partner. All you have to do is meet once a month and commit to doing this. Write down the tasks that you're going to do that month, and you don't have to do 30, it might be 5 or 10, but commit to meeting up once a month and go through them all with one another and keep one another accountable. If you then review that sheet, that goal sheet after 12 months, that's, you know, how many things that you would not have done had you not have had that productive meeting with that accountability partner. So that costs you nothing, it's a few hours of your time, and it will change the trajectory of your business if you commit to doing that. And that's realistically, that's what we've done with Nancy over the last 2 years. So being strict with your time is very important, and for us, you know, we've got so many kids, and 3 of them are at school, and the school bell rings at 9:30 and it rings again at 3:30. So really, by the time we drop them and pick them up, our days are sometimes condensed into 5 hours. So we don't have the luxury of not being strict with our time. How do we do it? We time block our calendars, and we will only open our calendars up to clients between like 10 and 3 during the day. And if we have a really big lot of tasks to do, like really important assessments, we will actually block the calendar out and say, don't talk to me during that 3-hour period, and we will get those tasks done. So time blocking is really good for managing your time properly. Set boundaries and expectations with your clients. We haven't always been good at this. This is a learned skill. Back when we first started, I remember we got this lead, and it was probably like one of our first leads, so we were really excited. And she said, can you come to my house? And it was an hour away. It was 7 o'clock at night. We both went because we were really excited. And we did in fact find her up front. We didn't know anything about the deal. It was never going to go anywhere. And it was just such a colossal waste of time. So, you know, we've learned a lot in the last 6 years, but we now only offer face-to-face meetings during school hours in our office. And no one has ever not done that. If they want to see us face-to-face, that's the only thing that we offer now. So I think just don't people please and do things that are way outside of what you can do within your time schedule. Use technology, automate everything. Elle is going to touch on this in a lot more detail shortly. And the next one, which is so important, is delegate everything outside of your role. So if you have a team, they all have their jobs, you need to delegate things to them. A lot of people, and we all get caught in this habit, is to just do the little things that, because they'll only take a few minutes. Don't do that. Just delegate to everything. If we start feeling overwhelmed, 100% guarantee the reason that Elle and I, when we start feeling overwhelmed, is because we're not leaning on our team. We have 5 people. Like, there's no reason why we should be feeling overwhelmed with the volumes that we're doing. So Elle is now going to talk about how we leverage technology and Mercury to enhance client experiences and our team's productivity.
Alrighty. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about technology, and look, there's lots of different platforms that lots of you can use, but I'm just going to take you through a few that we use and things that we found really, really helpful. And you know, whilst a pretty logo is all well and good, like what actually makes your customers loyal, and what actually makes them come back once you've roped them in? And think about a brand that you've recently engaged with. Well, think about a brand you've engaged with recently. You know, was it easy? Was it hard? Was it fast? Was it slow? Was it digital? Was it not digital? Getting a loan is can be a really long and detailed process. So you want to make this as quick and as easy and make the communication as clear as possible for all of your clients. And, you know, about 3 years ago, we met with another broker, and, you know, it was one of those instances where we just wanted to pick his brains on everything that we did. And, you know, and he was very, very generous with his time. And he said to us, he's like, here's my link, book some time into my calendar. And many years ago, I thought that was just so kind of cutting edge. I'm like, book a time into your calendar. I'm like, there's no way I'd let clients book into my calendar. I'm like, But, you know, it's actually quite the opposite, because it means that you can set the boundaries. People can book into your calendar when it suits you. And it also means that you can train your clients to start booking in times into your diary to chat to you. And it means you can come to the meeting prepared, and it also makes sure that you are super productive when you come to that meeting and bringing the right information. So long story short, if you haven't got Calendly, I suggest you get onto it. So we've got links all through our website, all in our email signatures, and it just helps streamline and manage our time a lot better. Another thing that we've recently brought in is Asana. So this is for managing tasks that are everything outside of Mercury. So whether it be goals that Alissa and I set for the business, and we'd have quarterly check-ins, we'd have monthly check-ins, team performance reviews, like anything that, doesn't sit in Mercury. And, I also like to allocate tasks to my husband, but I think it falls on deaf ears sometimes, but I do like to try. We also use the Microsoft we use Teams, the Microsoft suite, but I know G Suite has similar things. And if you haven't got an IT person to run you through the capabilities of these, I suggest you do, because when you've got offshore staff or you've got people working from home, we use the chat function. We use, obviously everyone can go in and amend the documents at the same time, the live documents. There is so much functionality within these software suites, that you can use to enhance your productivity day to day. And another big game changer for us was the shared email inboxes. So when it was just Alissa and I writing the loans, you'd be getting all the back channel messages, all the lender updates, everything's coming into your inbox, and we're flicking it off to the team to action this, action that. And then when we thought about it, we're like, why don't we just have a shared inbox? So we created an inbox where all of our back channel messages go, all of our lender updates go, and all of the team has access to that inbox. And that can be actioned by anyone at any point in the day. And I think it's particularly useful if you've got deals in progress and there's time pressure, and particularly for Alissa and I, when we're in and out of the office and we've got short hours and clients have questions, they know that they can email that shared inbox and it will be accessed by the team and it will be responded to generally that day. And at the end of the day, people are going to deal with a business that's easy to deal with, and you need to make it easy for your clients. And if the experience is easy and if it's memorable, they're going to love you, and they're going to be more likely to use you again, and they're going to be more likely to refer to you. So now I'm going to talk about Mercury and enhancing Mercury for customer experience. So, clear and timely communication with your clients is so, so key. And have a think about the things that frustrate you. Have a think about the things that might frustrate your clients. And chances are that you can circumvent this with a really, really strong process. You can create all those processes to overcome any of those communication pain points. And if you aren't good at your process or you're not too sure what to do, I urge you to reach out to your Connective BSM, because they see so many businesses of so many different business sizes with all different processes. And every time I catch up with my Connective BSM, I'm always like, what's everyone else doing? What can we be doing? What are we not doing? They can help you put all of this stuff in place to help you. And if you find yourself having to do something twice or write something twice, chances are you can systemize it. You can make a process. Sit down, map it out, identify all the pressure points and the pain points with your team, and then put it into place. And having a process is super, super, super important. And, one of the main benefits is consistency of messaging. And coming from me, I'm really OCD. Like, I'm really weird with formatting. I'm weird with messaging when it goes out. And if something's a little bit off, I'm like, my instinct is to take it back over again. And when you're trying to delegate, it's not the right way to go about things. So having this built into your process and having all your email templates set up is actually key for being able to step away. So all of these email templates can be sent out by your staff on behalf of you. So the client still thinks that those emails are coming from you. And I think that's really important as well, because it still means the client still feels that they're loved, but all the communication is actually being triggered by your team. And keeping the communication constant. So, use your process to ensure that your clients don't slip through the cracks. And, if they do slip through the cracks, it's not going to be through lack of communication. You need to be reaching out to them all the time at every step of the way. Like, they don't do this very often. So you need to make sure that you are guiding them through the process. And, when the leads start rolling in, it can be difficult to track where it's up to. So, like, what lead came in on what day and who's contacted. And, when they're coming in thick and fast, it can be very, very difficult to track. And one thing that we've sort of done to overcome that is have multiple statuses. So instead of just having, lead and then fact find and then whatever it is after that, we've got about 5 statuses under fact find. So it's fact find new client, existing client, follow-up 1, follow-up 2, final follow-up, whatever it is. And I think that's easy as well if you go into the Kanban view in Mercury. You can then see exactly where all the different leads are up to. Instead of having to go into each one and go, oh, which task has been ticked off? How many follow-ups has that had? I find it's just visually a little bit easier to just take a snapshot and figure out exactly where you are at that point in time. And similarly, at the assessment stages, this is where you're going to be making your money. So don't let your clients slip through the cracks through lack of process. In the bottom of all of our emails, we have a clear call to action, which is, if, book in a 15-minute with us, we will discuss your product comparison, we'll pick a lender, and we'll get your application lodged. Again, at settlement, this is another really pivotal part of the process. Quite often they don't know what's going on, so you need to make sure you are really holding their hand throughout the whole process. We've got emails that go out before, day of, day after, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. We've got so many emails that go out, and some of these are triggered through Mercury and can be triggered by the team, and then some of them are triggered through Digital Marketing Hub. And I know from chatting to Connective that a lot of people do not use Digital Marketing Hub, and it can be, look, my background is marketing, so I'm pretty good at navigating all of this stuff, but it can be a very overwhelming experience for those that don't know how to navigate a CRM. But basically what you can do is you can set up all these automatic emails that do not need to be triggered by anybody. They can be set with the time-sensitive sort of trigger, so they can go out 4 weeks after, 6 weeks after, 8 weeks after, whatever you set it up to do. And there is a whole team at Connective that can actually help you set up all these automations and get them going, because once you do set it up, it is set and forget. And these can be, the information that you put in them can be anything from insurance reviews to post-settlement, that sort of thing. But I also want to talk about Google reviews, because one of those emails that does go out is Google reviews. And these are particularly, they're such an incredible marketing tool for building trust within your clients. And as you can see, the stats don't lie. I mean, most clients, what are they, 3 or 4, they engage with a business that's only got a 3 or 4 star rating review, which really isn't that high. I'd be looking for 5-star personally. But, and 47 reviews isn't that much when you think about all the loans that you write in the year. Getting 47 reviews shouldn't be too hard. But when you ask for the Google reviews, ask for them right after settlement. Get them when their happiness is, when they're loving you the most. So chat to them on the phone, send them an email, send them a text message. Make it easy for them to leave you a Google review. The idea is make it easy, make them do it. So I also want to talk about enhancing Mercury for team experience. So whilst it's all well and good to create this process to love and foster your clients and move them through the process, I think it's really important to have a process for your internal team members as well. One of the biggest things is that it limits mistakes. So when you know exactly what is going out at every single part of the process, there should be very little room for error. And it's also a lot easier to onboard new staff. So we have done, we've done it both ways. We've onboarded staff with no process and we've onboarded staff with a process. And I can tell you now, if your process is watertight, you are going to spend so much less time training those people. And, quite often I hear the feedback from brokers that's like, we got this staff member, they're not working out, they're not doing what I told them to do. And I'm like, it's just the age-old saying, you only get out what you put into it. So make your process really good. So you're setting them up for success. You're not setting them up for fail. And then also enhance team productivity. So the less questions that your staff have to ask you is much better. It saves you precious time. And it also enables your staff to pump out more work in less time. So if it's all written down, if it's all in Mercury, if there's, all the tasks are allocated, it's going to be much more productive for everybody. And we are really big on automation, and we have automated whatever we possibly can. We've created shortcuts, we've created templates. We use Digital Marketing Hub. We use everything there possibly is to use. And some examples of this are, particularly for bid, we've gone in and we've created all these snippets for bid. We've got, about 100 different little snippets that we can put in there. So it only takes us 5 minutes to do bid now. Process flows, follow-ups, nurture campaigns, basically anything that you need to do twice, create a process for it. And I think what you need to do is have a think about what automating will do for you and, what don't you currently have time for? Because, chances are having a solid process with all of this automation in place will not only ensure that your customers don't fall through the cracks, but it will also free up so much more time for you to go out and generate more business. And finally, I want to talk to you about staffing for customer experience. So, after speaking to many of you, I know it's really, really hard to find competent staff. And whilst you're looking for someone with skills and, people that have got prior experience, that's really great. But for our company, we hire on a personality fit because, you put your blood and tears and sweat into these businesses and, these businesses are your babies and, these are an extension of you. So you want your staff to be an extension of you. So brand representation is so, so important. And quite often when you have a look at our Google reviews, you'll quite often see that Danny and Charlotte pop up in our Google reviews quite often. And that is because they have the same values and our customers love them just as much as they love us. We fully trust them now to manage our pipeline, deal with our customers with minimal intervention from us. And I think when you've got a small company, the waters can get quite muddy quite quickly because, you're all trying to pitch in, you're all trying to do everything. But what we were forced to do recently is take a step back and just have a think about the roles within the business and clearly define what each person is really meant to do. We needed to reset the expectation and we needed to make sure that we were clearly communicating with our staff and that they didn't know what we wanted them to do unless we told them. So I think defining their roles and letting them have an understanding of what they need to do is really clear, and particularly in a really small office environment. And another thing we needed to do was review the job roles regularly. And we were in a situation in our company where we had one girl that was really good at doing ABC, and then we had another girl that was doing XYZ. So we were sort of able to reverse fit some of those roles to play to their strengths. And at the end of the day, if they're doing something that they're good at, they're going to have a higher job satisfaction and they're going to be more willing to stay on. Yes. All right, so I think that's it. And finally, we'd like to take you through some of our key takeaways from today.
So we've learned so much over the last 6 years, but if we had to summarise our key learnings into 6 key points, it would be these. Number 1, social media. Be consistent, outsource it, get over the fear of featuring in your videos and your posts and your website. Be genuine, be you and be authentic, because this is what generates organic relationships and growth. Number 2, perfect your process. Invest time into this because your efficiency will be reflected in every single client transaction. If you blow their socks off, they will refer their friends and family to you time and time again. Number 3, let go of your ego. Don't ever think you're too good to ask for help or improve, and likewise, don't be too afraid to ask for help. Don't get complacent when you are comfortable. It's a really easy thing to do. You can always do better.
Number 4, use your network, use other brokers, chat to other people within the industry and, meet up with these people once per month and set some goals. You will be so surprised at how much you can achieve in such a short amount of time. Number 5, protect your energy. So all of your energy transfers onto your clients and it transfers onto your staff, so set those boundaries. And the power of saying no, that's a big one for us, and that is very much a learned skill. Taking control of your calendar and aiming for progress over perfection. And then finally, delegate and let go. This is one that I really need to take my own advice on because I find it very hard to let go, but it will set you free. It will set you free to do the things that you want to do, be it work on the business or do something in your spare time. And then finally, it's not up here, but look, embrace all the opportunities that come your way, no matter how terrifying. You just never know what will come of them. And, we heard from Anya at the MFAA this morning, and thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's really refreshing to hear from other women in the industry that have the same feelings and the same hurdles that we do. And, public speaking is definitely not one of our strengths. But Belinda from Connective called us and said that no other female had ever accepted the opportunity to present at the Connective conference, and we immediately thought, challenge bloody accepted, we got this. And anyway, all the marketing went out and our face was posted all over everything. And then we're like, oh, shit. Oh God, we've got to do this now. It's been marketed to everybody. But look, this has pushed us way outside of our comfort zone and we've lost many hours of sleep over this. But look, we accepted this challenge to, we accepted this challenge ourselves, not only to hopefully inspire some people in the room, but particularly to inspire other women, to push yourself outside your comfort zone. And, if it may be wildly uncomfortable, but it's very doable and you won't regret it. Anyway, we are so happy to share any information, so please come and have a chat to us. We are an open book. Thank you. We'll be calming our nerves in the bar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Which way?